Private Alex knew that firing his weapon would save his squad, but also sign his own death warrant. With 200 sleeping soldiers behind him and 30 enemies closing in, he made a choice that would echo through military history. This is the story of how one night watchman's impossible decision changed everything. But before we dive into that fateful night, let me tell you about the man who would become a legend. Private Alexander Alex Mitchell was 22 years old when he arrived at Forward Operating Base Blackwater in Afghanistan's Helmand province. Unlike most soldiers who joined for glory or adventure, Alex enlisted for one simple reason: his younger brother Danny had been killed in a Taliban ambush 6 months earlier. Danny was just 19. Alex wasn't your typical war hero material. Standing at 5 feet 7 inches with wire-rimmed glasses and a quiet demeanor, he looked more like a college student than a soldier. His squad mates often joked that he belonged in a library, not a battlefield. But what Alex lacked in physical intimidation, he made up for in something far more valuable: an almost supernatural ability to stay alert and focused during the long, grueling hours of night watch. You see, Alex suffered from chronic insomnia, a condition that had plagued him since childhood. What was a curse in civilian life became his greatest asset in the military. While other soldiers struggled to stay awake during 4-hour night shifts, Alex's mind remained razor-sharp throughout the darkest hours. For 3 months, Alex had been the unofficial night guardian of FOB Blackwater. His fellow soldiers trusted him completely. They knew that when Alex Mitchell was on watch, they could sleep peacefully. He had never missed a single threat, never dozed off, never let his guard down. But on November 15, 2019, that trust would be tested in ways no one could have imagined. It was a Tuesday night, or rather, early Wednesday morning. The temperature had dropped to 34 degrees Fahrenheit, and a thin layer of frost covered the sandbags surrounding the perimeter. At 0200 hours, Alex took his position in Tower 3, the northeastern observation post that overlooked the valley approach to their base. FOB Blackwater housed 247 American soldiers, 8 British advisors, and 12 Afghan interpreters. Most were asleep in their bunks, exhausted from a grueling day of patrol operations. The base was considered relatively secure. They hadn't seen significant enemy activity in over 2 weeks. Alex settled into his watch position with his usual routine. He checked his M4 carbine, ensuring a full 30-round magazine was seated and ready. He tested his night vision goggles, adjusting the focus until every shadow in the valley below was crystal clear. Most importantly, he checked his radio. "Tower 3 to base command, radio check," Alex whispered into his headset. "Base command to Tower 3, reading you loud and clear," came the response from Sergeant Rodriguez in the command center. "Copy that, base command." All quiet on the northeastern approach. What Alex didn't know was that this would be the last successful radio transmission he would make that night. The first 2 hours passed without incident. Alex methodically scanned his sector every 30 seconds, a habit that had become second nature. Left to right, near to far, checking for any movement, any shape that didn't belong, any reflection of light that might indicate enemy presence. At 0347 hours, something caught his attention. It started as just a feeling, that indefinable sensation that something wasn't quite right. Alex had learned to trust these instincts. In his 3 months of night watch duty, that feeling had never been wrong. He raised his binoculars and focused on a cluster of rocks about 800 meters northeast of the base. At first, there was nothing. Just the same pile of stones that had been there every night for the past 3 months. But then, almost imperceptibly, one of the shadows moved. Alex's heart rate immediately spiked. He blinked hard, rubbed his eyes, and looked again. This time, he was certain. There was definitely movement among those rocks. He reached for his radio. "Base command, this is Tower 3. I have possible enemy movement, northeastern approach, approximately 800 meters. Static. Dead static." Alex checked his radio settings, changed frequencies, tried again. Nothing. The radio was completely dead, not just poor reception, but complete electronic failure. For a moment, panic threatened to overwhelm him. Standard protocol dictated that he should immediately alert the base through any means necessary if enemy contact was suspected. But with no radio, his options were severely limited. He could fire a warning shot to wake the base, but that would also alert the enemy to his position and their discovery. He could abandon his post and run to alert the command center, but that would leave the northeastern approach completely unguarded. Alex made a quick decision. He would continue observing and try to determine the exact nature and scope of the threat before taking any irreversible action. What he discovered in the next 10 minutes would change everything. Using his night vision scope, Alex began a systematic count of the enemy force. What he initially thought might be a small reconnaissance patrol quickly revealed itself to be something far more serious. He counted methodically, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 12 figures moving stealthily through the rocky terrain. They were approximately 600 meters out now, moving in a tactical formation that suggested significant military training. But Alex wasn't finished counting. 15, 18, 22, 28. His blood ran cold as the final count reached 31 enemy combatants, all armed with what appeared to be AK-47 assault rifles. Several carried what looked like RPG launchers. This wasn't a patrol or a probing attack, this was a full-scale assault force. And they were moving directly toward the sleeping base. Alex tried his radio again, cycling through every frequency he knew. Emergency channels, backup frequencies, even the civilian channels, nothing worked. The radio was completely dead, and he was completely alone. He estimated the enemy force would reach the base perimeter in approximately 12 minutes. At their current rate of movement, they would be in position to launch their attack at exactly 0415 hours. In the barracks below, 267 Allied personnel slept peacefully, completely unaware that death was approaching through the darkness. Alex faced an impossible choice. Option 1, fire immediately to alert the base. This would wake his fellow soldiers and give them precious minutes to prepare a defense. But it would also immediately reveal his position to the enemy force. As the only soldier currently awake and aware of the threat, Alex would become their primary target. The tower he occupied offered good visibility but virtually no protection against concentrated enemy fire. He would likely be killed within seconds of firing his first shot. Option 2, abandon his post and run to physically alert the command center. This would take approximately 4 minutes, time they couldn't afford to lose. More critically, it would leave the northeastern approach completely unguarded. If the enemy force split up or changed direction, Alex would lose visual contact and have no way to direct the base's defensive response. Option 3, attempt to engage the enemy force alone. With his elevated position and night vision advantage, Alex might be able to eliminate several targets before they realized what was happening. But 31 trained insurgents against one soldier was mathematically impossible. Even if he managed to take down 10 or 15 of them, the remaining force would still be more than enough to overrun the sleeping base. Option 4, do nothing and hope the enemy force would somehow miss the base or change direction. This was essentially suicide for everyone involved. As Alex weighed these options, he thought about his younger brother Danny. Danny had died because his squad was caught off guard during a nighttime Taliban attack. The insurgents had approached undetected, and by the time Danny's unit realized they were under attack, it was too late. Alex looked down at the sleeping base one more time. He could see the soft glow of emergency lighting in the barracks windows. Inside those buildings were soldiers just like Danny, young men and women who had signed up to serve their country, who had families waiting for them back home, who deserved the chance to wake up and fight for their lives. At 0408 hours, with 7 minutes remaining before the enemy reached attack position, Private Alex Mitchell made his choice. Alex positioned himself at the optimal firing angle, took a deep breath, and did something that went against every military protocol he had ever learned. Instead of firing to alert the base, he decided to engage the enemy force alone, but with a strategy that no military manual had ever contemplated. Alex's plan was both brilliant and suicidal. He would fire precisely aimed shots to eliminate as many enemy combatants as possible while simultaneously creating enough noise to wake the base. But instead of firing from his protected position in the tower, he would systematically move between different firing positions, creating the illusion of multiple defenders and forcing the enemy to spread their return fire. His goal wasn't to survive. Alex had already accepted that he wouldn't live through the next 20 minutes. His goal was to buy enough time for his fellow soldiers to wake up, assess the situation, and mount an effective defense. At exactly 0409 hours, Alex chambered a round and acquired his first target. The engagement begins, 12 to 15 minutes. Alex's first shot was perfectly placed. The enemy point man dropped silently, and for a moment, the rest of the insurgent force continued moving, unaware that they had lost their lead scout. His second shot took down what appeared to be a squad leader. This time, the enemy force immediately went to ground, realizing they were under attack. Alex didn't wait to assess the damage. Following his plan, he immediately moved from the tower to a secondary position on the eastern wall, approximately 50 meters away. From this new angle, he acquired a third target and fired. The enemy force was now fully alert and beginning to return fire, but they were shooting at Alex's original position in the tower. The muzzle flashes from their AK-47s lit up the darkness, but their rounds were hitting empty sandbags. By now, the sound of gunfire had begun to wake the base. Alex could see lights coming on in the barracks windows and hear the confused shouts of soldiers trying to understand what was happening. But Alex wasn't finished. Moving to a third position on the northern perimeter, he fired 2 more precisely aimed shots. From the enemy's perspective, they were now taking fire from 3 different locations, suggesting a much larger defensive force than actually existed. This is when Alex's plan began working exactly as he had hoped, and when everything started to go wrong. Inside FOB Blackwater, chaos was erupting. Soldiers jolted awake by the sound of gunfire grabbed their weapons and rushed to defensive positions. Squad leaders shouted orders, trying to determine the direction and scope of the attack. Sergeant Rodriguez burst into the command center and immediately tried to contact all watch positions. Tower 1, report. Tower 1, all clear, no contact from our sector. Tower 2, report. Tower 2, we see muzzle flashes northeast, appears to be contact at Tower 3. Tower 3, report. Tower 3, do you copy? Silence. No response from Alex's position. Rodriguez grabbed his binoculars and scanned the northeastern approach. What he saw confirmed his worst fears. A significant enemy force was engaged in active combat with someone, and that someone appeared to be Alex Mitchell, fighting alone. All units, this is base command. We have enemy contact northeastern approach, estimated 25 to 30 hostiles. Tower 3 is engaged, need immediate support to that sector. But by the time the base's quick reaction force could gear up and move out, Alex had already been fighting alone for nearly 6 minutes. And the enemy was beginning to figure out his strategy. The rocket-propelled grenade struck the sandbag wall just 3 meters from Alex's position. The explosion threw him backwards, temporarily deafening him and filling his mouth with dust and debris. For a moment, Alex lay motionless, certain he had been killed. But gradually, sensation returned. His ears were ringing, his left shoulder felt like it was on fire, and something warm was trickling down his face, but he was alive. More importantly, he could still hold his rifle. Alex forced himself back into a firing position and immediately saw that the situation had changed dramatically. The enemy force had used the RPG strike as cover to advance much closer to the base perimeter. Several insurgents were now less than 100 meters away, well within effective range for their assault rifles. But Alex also saw something else, muzzle flashes from the base itself. His fellow soldiers had finally joined the fight. The cavalry was coming, but they were still organizing their response. Alex estimated he needed to hold his position for just 2 or 3 more minutes before the base's full defensive capability could be brought to bear. With his damaged shoulder screaming in pain and only 60 rounds of ammunition remaining, Alex Mitchell prepared for the final phase of his one-man war. What happened next would be talked about in military circles for years to come. Instead of continuing his fire-and-move tactics, Alex made one final strategic decision. He would use his remaining ammunition to mark the exact positions of the advancing enemy force for his fellow soldiers, even if it meant revealing his own location and drawing concentrated fire. Alex began firing single, well-aimed shots, but instead of trying to hit enemy combatants, he aimed at the ground immediately in front of their positions. The muzzle flashes and ricochets clearly illuminated each enemy fighter's location for the defenders now manning the base perimeter. Northeast, 50 meters, behind the large boulder. Alex shouted, knowing his voice would carry to the nearest defensive position. 2 more, advancing along the creek bed, 60 meters out. RPG team, northwest corner of the rock formation. Each callout was followed by a precisely placed shot that marked the target for other defenders. Within minutes, the base's machine gun teams and designated marksmen were engaging enemy positions with devastating accuracy. But Alex's strategy came with a terrible cost. By remaining stationary and shouting target information, he had made himself visible to the enemy force. Concentrated AK-47 fire began impacting all around his position. A round struck the sandbag inches from his head. Another shattered the scope on his rifle. A third creased his right thigh, sending a bolt of pain up his leg. Alex kept firing, kept calling out targets, kept marking enemy positions for his brothers in arms. And then, at exactly 0431 hours, his rifle clicked empty. As Alex reached for his final magazine, a sustained burst of machine gun fire erupted from the base's main defensive position. The enemy assault finally broke. Those insurgents who weren't killed or wounded began retreating back into the darkness, carrying their casualties with them. The battle was over. FOB Blackwater had survived. But Alex Mitchell had paid the ultimate price for his heroic stand. When the quick reaction force finally reached his position, they found Alex slumped against the sandbag wall, his rifle clutched in his hands, a peaceful expression on his face. He had been struck by multiple rounds during the final minutes of the engagement, but incredibly, he was still breathing. Medic! Medic! We need a medic over here now. As the base medics worked frantically to stabilize Alex's condition, Sergeant Rodriguez conducted a preliminary assessment of the battle. The evidence was overwhelming. One soldier, fighting alone for over 20 minutes, had held off a force of 31 enemy combatants and saved the lives of 267 Allied personnel. The enemy body count told the story: 14 confirmed kills, with multiple blood trails indicating additional casualties. Alex had single-handedly eliminated nearly half of the attacking force before the base's main defense could be organized. Private Alex Mitchell survived his wounds, though he would never see combat again. The injuries to his shoulder and leg ended his military career, but they couldn't diminish what he had accomplished that night. The official Army investigation concluded that Alex's actions represented extraordinary heroism in the face of overwhelming odds and tactical brilliance under extreme pressure. His decision to engage the enemy alone, while contrary to standard protocol, had undoubtedly saved hundreds of lives. Alex was awarded the Medal of Honor, the nation's highest military decoration for valor in combat. The citation read, in part, "Private Mitchell's selfless courage and tactical innovation in the face of certain death exemplify the highest traditions of military service and reflect great credit upon himself, his unit, and the United States Army." But for Alex, the real reward came 3 months later, when he received a letter from Danny's mother, his own mother. She wrote, "I know Danny would be proud of what you did. You saved all those boys, just like you couldn't save him. You brought them home to their families, and for that, I will always be grateful." Today, Alex works as a counselor for veterans dealing with PTSD and survivor guilt. He tells his story not to glorify war, but to honor the memory of those who serve and to remind people that sometimes, one person really can make a difference. The Night Watch Tower at FOB Blackwater was renamed Mitchell Tower in his honor. A plaque there reads, "In memory of the night when one soldier's impossible choice saved 267 lives." Courage is not the absence of fear, but action in spite of it. And that's Private Alex Mitchell's impossible choice story, the night watchman who became a one-man army to save 267 sleeping soldiers. Here at Last Signal Stories, we honor every warrior who chooses sacrifice over safety, courage over comfort. If this story of split-second decisions, ultimate sacrifice, and standing alone against impossible odds moved you, hit subscribe for more military stories that matter. Drop a comment below. Would you have fired that first shot knowing it meant certain death? Until next time, stay tuned for the signal.